How's it going, guys? This is Steven Jennings over at the RedRiot Games YouTube channel, and today we're going to be doing a deck profile for Reptile in the card game Universus. So Reptile is going to be a 6-hand sizer with 27 health. His enhance is going to be reading your mid attack gets +1 damage, and your next mid attack will get +2 damage. This is really good because this can stack for a huge reversal on your opponent's turn, or it can just stack over time on all of your attacks. So all of your attacks, all of your second attacks, also the first one, are all going to have +2 damage on them, and then followed by playing his own enhancers is going to give it +1 damage. So every attack after your first attack +3 damage. Also, is really good is this stacks as well. It says your this high or low attack gets -1 damage. The next high or low attack will this turn gets -2 damage. So obviously it's this turn, so it can't just start on the next turn with your opponent having a 0 damage attack. So what's really good with this is this also stacks over time. If you're worried about a high or low reversal that your opponent may play, it will come in with a -2 naturally, and then you give it a -1 the second it is played. Next up here is your attack. Reveal 2 mid attacks from your hand. Your opponent discards 1 card. So Reptile is pretty straightforward, and I would think like very new players to this game would find this character very hard to fight against. Seasoned players to kind of figure out how to get around most of his stuff, but he's always a threat at all levels of the game, and he can also spike for a ton of damage, and we're going to walk through a little bit of how he does that. So in this deck we have one asset that we're playing, but running it as a 4-up because we really want to see it in the staging area if we can, and that is RedRiotGames. So RedRiotGames is a unique asset. It costs twice per turn. This attack gets a +2 to its stun rating. And then the next thing on is enhanced twice per turn. If your attack has a printed damage of 3, ready 1 foundation has not been ready this combat phase, and your attack gets +3 damage. So why this is really good is, number one, being able to give any of your attacks, whether it's on your opponent's turn or your turn, +2 to the stun rating, depending on the type of attack it is, and the type of attacks you're going to see in this deck. That could just end your opponent's turn completely. Or if you're going just to give your attacks damage bonuses and you want to ready a foundation, it's super good, right? So like you know, being able to ready a foundation while you're attacking your opponent, or if you're on a defensive turn, and being able to just give it a huge damage pump so that potentially your opponent has to kind of block this attack, is very strong. So we're going to move on to the next card here. We're going to try to be a little bit quicker than usual because we noticed that these videos were maybe getting a little bit too long whenever I was doing the deck profile. So the next one is going to be Aegis and Wise. So what deck wouldn't have Aegis and Wise? So this enhance on this card, the response to this card is after your opponent plays an ability that causes any number of foundations to leave your staging area, cancel its effects. It's really good. The ready enhance is kind of irrelevant because you're not be using it on this one, but being able to stop your opponent from forcing a card to leave your staging area is really good. That is going to stop cards like the Togoro Brothers unless they have 2 of them in their hand. It's also going to stop cards that are like Moonset, or just really anything that causes the card to physically leave your staging area. It is very good. And foundation, leaving your staging area. So that's going to be important for most stages in this game because Togoro Brothers is very strong, and Moonset is also very strong. The next card here is going to be Manifestation. We're also running on a 4-up. So Manifestation just has a really good static on it. After this card is committed due to a stun ability or to pay the cost of your ability, your opponent commits 1 foundation. This card, we're going to leave one of these over here because I'll show you in a little bit why that is a super important card to have in this deck. We're going to also be playing 2 copies of Pure Heart. This is really good for shutting cards down like that may be able to commit your character out as an enhance or force you to skip your enhance. So anything that's like that, this card targets it specifically. It is your first enhance, but it's also disallowing your opponent from being able to end your turn. So then there is a card that this one is really good at targeting, so I'm also going to leave that over there on the side just so you can get a bit of a comparison. So we're also going to be playing 2 copies of Jolly Gloomy. So this card will read Enhance Commit. Your opponent adds the top card of the deck to the momentum. It's really good if you want to play cards that have to have your opponent having momentum, and also destroy your opponent discards 1 momentum playable while committed. So if your opponent is ramping up for some kind of big EX or a powerful attack and you just really don't want to see them with cards in their momentum, or you don't want to see them multiple coming out of there, you just get rid of it. So definitely a good card. Doesn't need to be a 4-of unless your local meta just has a lot of them. Next card we're going to have in here, and this one is also going to be playing on a 2-up, is Toughest Punk in Junior High. This is going to be a 2-costing card. It's going to check for a 5, so it's response flip. Before you take damage from an attack, reduce the damage you take by 3. So this is either going to help you just survive a turn or force your opponent's attack to just do absolutely no damage. One of the cards your opponent's going to want to get rid of if they can, and you're going to have to hope that you have H's and Y's to protect that card on the field. Now, this is one of the cards that I was mentioning is really good with Manifestation, and that is Freeing the Relics. So Freeing the Relics is commit 1 foundation, your printed damage 3 attack gets plus 2 damage. So because you have to commit 1 foundation, if you're committing Manifestation, you're also forcing your opponent to commit it on a card, and you're getting a damage bonus for it. It's also another enhance on it says this attack gets -1 speed for each card in your opponent's card pool, playable while committed. So, I mean, if your opponent plays some kind of nutty multiple attack and you just want to be able to block it, you now have an option to do so. Ideally, you want to play this card to commit your Manifestation. You can do this on your opponent's turn as well. You just want to commit your Manifestation for some reason, just because you want to have them have less ready cards on their turn. It's also really good that way. So that's like one of the reasons that I would put this in the deck. It's really super strong. Ardent is really cool too. Yeah, so that would be it for this one here. So we're going to move on to the next card. And those will be 3 copies of this card here. So Maternal Swordsmanship. It's a 2-costing card, but also again checking for a 5. So it's enhance flip. Ready 1 foundation has not been ready this combat phase. So in this case, you would ready your Manifestation. If you can, if it's out. Your attack with a printed damage of 3 gets plus 2 speed or plus 3 damage. So this card flips, it gets ready a card, and you give your attack a bonus. But only if it's a 3 damage card. So this is just crazy strong because it's readying a foundation that is also powering your turn, allowing you to live longer. And also you can use it defensively if you just want to ready a foundation because you may not be able to block an attack that could be lethal. It's going to be useful. So this card here is one that you'd want to have a Pure of Heart attack, right? So Pure of Heart would first C, choose 1 foundation. They can't play this foundation. They can't play any enhances on this. But this card, very good on a 3. Wear a light. Flip, choose 1 enhanced ability printed on one of your opponent's foundations. Your opponent must play the chosen ability as their next enhance or pass. So this is just really good for ending the enhanced step on an attack, which is why you want to have a Pure of Heart that can get rid of that card. Get rid of the use of this card, at least one of them. It is going to commit itself out, but then again, you do have your Maternal Instinct to ready it, so not so much of a worry, right? So anyhow, that's a super good card in Reptile, especially if you just want to force your opponent not to be able to attack you. Then there is the other enhance on it, commit discard 1 card from your opponent's card pool, but I mean, that's really good if your opponent is potentially playing a multiple and you just want to get rid of the multiple. I mean, if I was your opponent, I'd be pretty miffed about that. Next card we got coming in here is 2 copies of Quest for the Hero Sword. So this is flip, add 1 attack, commit, flip, add 1 attack with a printed damage of 3 from your discard pile to your hand or card pool. So either you add it to your card pool and you're wanting to play an attack that can make that a multiple, or discard it, you get to draw a card or something. Or you just need an attacks in your hand. This is really good defensively, really good offensively. It goes really well with the asset that we're playing in this deck. It really goes really good with any other card that's able to help ready it. It's a very strong card, and anytime you're adding cards to your hand that are powering your character's ability to force your opponent to discard cards for you having cards in your hand, I mean, this is match made in heaven, right? So the next card we have here, and this is going to be on a 2, this is the first card we're seeing here with no block on it. So it's enhanced response remove ready 1 foundation. After your opponent's unblocked attack resolves, you may attempt to play 1 attack with the printed damage of 3 from your hand. So there are some really nutty attacks in your hand that you're going to have in this deck that could either just completely end the game or end your opponent's turn, or force your opponent to have to react in some sort of way. So you get to play the card. Doesn't need to be a reversal. This is really strong in your own way. Only going to be all this stronger in Reptile, is going to be causing you to lose your hand basically for that card even existing on the board. So this card here is going to come on a 2. This is going to be Innocent Breeze. So Innocent Breeze is going to be commit. Your attack gets +1 damage for each card in your card pool. So in this deck, it's going to have lots of cards that flood the card pool, and getting a huge damage bonus for them is super good. Defensively, response after an attack resolves, flip it, playable while committed. That's great, especially if you're playing against a combo deck like an Ibuki deck or Takeda deck, and you just don't want your opponent to have any combo abilities. Though Takeda doesn't really seem to need to have combos to play combo abilities, you're going to be at least able to, force the attack to force that your opponent's not going to get a momentum. Second of all, you're kind of just ending your opponent's ability to ramp up to some big nutty like combo attack. It also stops Serpentinian Blades, or not Serpentinian Blades. It stops quite a few cards. Just flipping the card in the card pool, general period, very good. Next card we got here is his Gift of Immortal Blood. So this will be one of the cards that you're going to be wanting, for one of the reasons you're going to want your opponent to have cards in their momentum, so that enhance this card momentum. This attack gets -5 speed, only playable if your opponent has at least 1 momentum, playable while committed. Great. And also, enhance commit, add 1 card for your opponent's discard pile to the momentum. So if your opponent doesn't really have ways of burning momentum, adding some other attacks that they may be able to get from the discard pile to their momentum, pretty strong. Being able to -5 speed from an attack, very strong. So much love, much respect. That card is I think now I just always put it in every water deck. Now this is really good here. Spaceland. Discard the top 2 cards of your discard the top 2 cards of your deck. Your attack gets +1 damage. Now with the fact that Reptile is able now with this deck to pull an attack out of the discard pile, that makes this card automatically strong as heck, because now you're going to try to force an attack into your discard pile to be able to bring the attack back to your hand. Also, it powers another attack we're going to get to in a moment here. Response: after your opponent adds 1 or more cards to their momentum during the combat phase, they discard 2 momentum. So this doesn't say that your opponent plays an ability that adds a card to the momentum. So hypothetically, you could, if your opponent has 1 momentum in their and you know that you're trying to ramp up for another one, you can then give this Immortal Blood to your opponent, adds 1, and then Spaceland to have them discard both of them, right? So very good. This card here, I really love it. This is definitely won me games that I sure had no business of winning, just because it is that strong, and it got some cool art in it, right? So that is one of our one-ups, and the next one-up we have, now this one could be more, but I don't find that I was playing a lot of combo abilities in this deck in general, but when coming in at 2 cost, we have an Energy Charge. So when you attempt to block with this card, your opponent's attack gets -2 speed, and this card ignores progressive difficulty. So this card with a +1 mid block modifier is coming in at -0, -1, depending on the speed of their attack. And then it has this really good response: is after you play a combo ability, your attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage. We need to make a check for that. So the reason why this is only on a 1-up is the deck just doesn't play enough combos to make making those checks really useful. But it is still a very strong card into having the deck. Now we have Damnation here, one of our older school cards here, but it's just too good to let go. So his response: commit. After your opponent plays an enhanced ability printed on a foundation, cancel this effect. Already a strong card. There's too many cards that are too strong in this game that you wouldn't need Damnation. You don't need 4 Damnations. It's also unique. It's not super important to have. If you got it, great. We also have Castaway and Forgotten coming in on a 2. It's a unique response: flip, discard momentum. After an attack is played, seal it. Great when your opponent is playing Flash. Great when you're, well, maybe not when they're playing Flash because the Flash already happened, but it's also great when your opponent's playing Throws or Safe or Combo or anything. The card just becomes blank. So you're going to be able to get a reversal off. You're going to be able to block the attack and not have to worry about dying. This card also can seal off strong cards like Shotgun, like Spirit Shotgun, like Moonset. It's gonna just blank out literally any card that your opponent has. And Reptile also has Earth. Has a response: destroy after an attack with a printed damage of 3 or less is played, seal it. If it is your attack, draw 1 card. So I never really used that second one, just because I just feel like the first response is just so much more stronger. And drawing cards has not been a problem for me, but being able to not die to lethal attacks that have powerful million is more important. getting rid of Scarlet Meteor and disallowing my opponent to play different things. Also very strong. So we're going to move on to some of our attacks now. So we got 4 of this card here. This is just a nutty strong. So we got Mei Gui Ha, and it's that's powerful 2, safe, it's stun 1, and weapon. Just a whole bunch of keywords. While this card's in your card pool, your other attacks get plus, with a printed damage of 3, get +1 speed and +1 damage. So this just makes so much of this deck just work. Its enhance on it is add 1 copy of this card from your discard pile. So basically you play this card, you give it a +1, the next attack you play is getting +4 if you've added one of these to your card pool, and depending on your attack setup, you could just be getting these cards into your staging area for free. You can have these cards becoming multiples for free. Super duper strong. And then you can also just poke with this card and win, and I actually have done that. If you check out our UFS Canada page, you guys will see a match soon that that exact setup happened on there, right? Where that card by itself, not being strong right off the hop, just kind of ramped up to like a really huge attack. So the next one we're gonna have come out here is Greater Wall. So low Great Wall. Sorry about that. We're just gonna zoom back in there. Dang, I wish I could just delete this spacebar button. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so we're gonna... Whoops, sorry, we kind of messed up a little bit here. But not a big problem, not a big problem. We can fix it. There you go. We have the technology. We fixed it. Yeah, so the next one we're gonna have here is, like I said, is Lower Great Wall. So Lower Great Wall, that is a safe stun 2 weapon combo. It got a combo enhance on it with 3 damage. As you've seen so far, the first attack's got 3 damage already. This one is going to give it combo enhance plus 3 damage, so it's going to come in for 6. If it's a second attack with Reptile, it's coming in for 8. Form mid for 8. With the asset, it's going to have stun 4. This card is just strong, very strong. It doesn't look strong like on the surface. You're like, oh, you know, 4 mid, 3 damage, not a big deal. But then all of a sudden, it's like pumping for 8 damage. With Reptile, it's going to get up to 9, and then it's going to stun out 4 cards if you have max. If you have your asset out, and if you have everything else you need out, this card is just crazy strong. And plus, with freeing the relics and Alpha Station, like, you can commit out a lot of cards in your opponent's staging area pretty quickly, and while getting rid of cards in their hand. So Reptile can become quite oppressive with this setup. So this card here was one of the newer cards that I added to this deck just because it was so strong. Wow, I just gotta get rid of that. I guess I'll take the spacebar out. I don't know, maybe I just need to take spacebar out of this keyboard when I'm doing these videos. It's just so easy to hit, so easy to hit. It's too easy to hit, unfortunately. Yeah, so anyways, so we got here what I think is one of the more stronger new cards for, at least for the Reptile and for Zhang Wei. And for Lilith, right? This is Air Blade Thrust. So it is coming as a 3. It's a 3 mid for 3 damage. All these 3s everywhere. It's charge, punch, range, weapon. Face on cards do not count towards progressive difficulty to play this card. So there are multiples in this deck that would make this card crazy strong. Enhance, if this attack deals damage, add it to your momentum. So automatically, that already makes one of our first attacks there get a powerful rating to it itself. And then also after a multiple, it comes in for the multiples don't even matter anymore. So you can just get, and it can also come in quite strong. So this card right off the hop, just strong, very strong. It's one of those cards that doesn't look strong at first until you take a second look at it and like, wait, what is that card doing? Here we got another one card here. It's a Bamboo Blind Slice. So this is basically our new but potentially better improved version of Skullbearer. So you get to build with this card with this response, and you get to stun out with this card, and with Zhang Wei's asset, you're gonna get a +2 to that stun rating, so it's gonna come in with a stun 4. And with, depending on your hand, you could just make your opponent discard more cards. So anyways, the response to this card is discard 1 momentum, add 1 other card from your card pool to your staging area, which is any card you want. After your opponent plays an attack, remove it. So just removing your opponent's attacks from the game. I have had this card played in as a reversal while blocking with a asset that was a weapon, and just play this card as a reversal, and my opponent just ended the turn because they didn't want to deal with me getting rid of one of their cards after being stunned 4/4. And you know, if you don't have an answer for it, you can't seal it. It is just way too strong. and I love it. It is an appropriate replacement for the meta for what for what Skull Barrier was doing before. Now, this Windmill Punch in this deck is going to be one of your bigger combo attacks that lets you take a card from your discard pile, add it to your card pool. While this card is in your card pool, all your attacks with a printed damage of 3 or less will get +1 damage. After your multiple copies resolve, you may discard it. That is really strong, especially in this deck that is forcing your opponent to just lose cards from the hand. So you can add 1 copy of Windmill Punch from your discard pile to your card pool. Then it automatically is going to have +2 damage because this card itself gives itself +1 damage. Get the other Windmill Punch giving it +1 damage. Reptile giving it +1, potentially +2, and then +1, and then all your multiples getting those bonuses. It just becomes like a big combo-y strong deck. Combo enhance, and then add 1 card from the discard pile to the top of your deck. So you can force a 6 check to the top of your deck. You can force just another foundation to the top of your deck. Or if you have ways of drawing cards, you can force a attack to the top of your deck and then just draw the attack. We put this on a 2 instead of being on a 4 because of wanting Bamboo Blindsights into the deck, and then just 2 other attacks that are just too strong not to have as force in this deck. So we're gonna have our Supplementing Blades. So I think Supplementing Blades is just you need this card for the Reptile. With all these other cards like Windmill Punch, like Megweha, that are adding cards to your card pool, and with cards like the new Talon card that just add themselves to momentum or just stay in the card pool, it makes this card just that much more important because you can, for example, its second enhancer is discard momentum. This attack gains stun 3, commit one of your opponent's or commit one of your opponent's foundation. So if your opponent only gets 1, you just commit 1. You also are going to be getting stun 3. Your asset gives stun +2 to its stun range is stun 5. You can also, this is the most important part of this card's enhance, is enhance. You may discard attacks with a printed damage of 3 or less from your card pool, in addition to momentum to play this attack's multiple costs. So boom, right out of the gate, you're getting a free multiple 2 with cards like Windmill Punch and Megweha. You're going to get free multiples from those cards after they've already given this card its damage and or speed bonus, and then becoming multiples. That is just super duper crazy. I found that to be just kind of game ending when you get it into play. And then if it doesn't, and all else fails, you could always just play this, and this is like hilarious. And I was just I was thinking about this before the Montreal PTC, and it's like, no, that's not, no point to putting that in the deck until I actually used it. So Exploding Flame War, it is a weapon combo, and it combos off a weapon and attack. So it says this attack gets +6 damage. Add up to 1 weapon attack from your card pool to your staging area face down. Very good. Combo enhance, this attack gains stun 2. Add up to 1 combo card from your combo attack from your card pool to your staging area face down. So you get to build 3, but it says up to, by the way, which I didn't realize before meant that you could add nothing and still get all of these bonuses. But if you have a bigger turn in hand, you can add both the card. You can add one of the cards at least to your staging area, giving you a free foundation. And then there are decks that run archetypes that can bring those cards back, but not this one. But just being able to gain a damage bonus while clearing out your own card pool is like just super strong. With Reptile, having your opponent discard a whole bunch of cards from the hand, and then this card coming in with a +2, you can get a +6, and Reptile gives a +1. This card comes in then for 12, 15 damage. That is wow. So when that has happened a lot more frequently than I had thought it would be, and this, of course, this deck is attack heavy, but that is like the nature of Reptile. Reptile decks need to be extremely aggressive. So for the side deck for this, we have Lilith, because Lilith runs this entire engine really easy. And her enhancing, you check a 5, your printed 3 damage attack, gets +1 speed and +1 damage for each card in your card pool playable while committed. So obviously that Innocent Breeze just becomes so much crazier in this deck, because Innocent Breeze gives you a damage bonus, then this gives you a damage bonus. And if you're playing Supplementing Blades, you're gonna have a bunch of cards in your card pool, that are going to be either multiples or cards that lead up to the multiple, and then this card on top of it is just going to make the attack like +3 or more speed, while giving it crazy damage bonuses, and Innocent Breeze giving it even more crazier damage bonuses. It just becomes such a strong card. And then the response in this card, response commit 1 foundation. After an attack is played, seal it. Your next check to play a card, it gets +3. If it is your attack, draw 1 card. So now let's say you just play a throwaway attack that's what you want to lead into a throwaway card that you want to lead into a really strong attack. I mean, strong, super crazy strong. I found that to be really, really important. The only foundation that I would believe that is as strong as this one is actually Paranormal Investigation. So that is probably a card that's missing in the main board of this deck, and we actually don't have it in the sideboard. But that is a card that, admittedly, now that I'm looking at it, it might be missing. But you don't necessarily need that card. Lilith can just seal up cards. Stop it. We have 1 stop. I would maybe just change this for Paranormal Investigation now that I look at it. But being able to commit out your opponent's character is very strong. It can be super necessary. But some characters like All Might don't care if you get rid of them. Now this deck, I think it is Bebop. The card out of Cowboy Bebop that would just commit out your Reptile, or you can seal your Reptile, or just find ways to get rid of this character. So that's why you're going to be wanting to run copies of Betrayal into your deck. So our Betrayal has a really good enhance on it, as well as a stun. It's a really good card in general. But your next printed 3 damage card this turn gets +2 speed and +2 damage. Really good, especially if you just like plan to reversal the heck out of your opponent. Also, if your character was sealed or committed, draw 2 cards. So if they actually have stop, you get to draw cards off of stop. If you got bang, you get to draw cards off of bang. So not really, no real reason not to play that card into this deck on your side or your main, especially if you have Lilith as your side character and she commits herself. So bang, after your opponent does not block your attack, they lose 3 vitality, draw 1 card. So if you can imagine like getting rid of all of your opponent's cards and then they just can simply not block things because they don't have cards in their hand, and you bang them right afterwards. Like, that's the biggest like FU. And then also enhance, remove, seal 1 card in your opponent's staging area, so you can just kind of shut down strong cards that are really bothering you in your deck. But it's a side card in this. We also have Prepare to Fight. So Prepare to Fight is after you block multiple attack, you just get rid of all the multiples, they just disappear. And its second response is response card pull. After you partially block an attack with this card, it deals 0 damage. And then it has an enhance, which I don't really see ever played, is both players add 1 card from their staging area to their card pool. I could see why that would be interesting to play, but I've never had to use it, ever. In all the years I played this game, I've never seen that card used that way. And then the last card is Bastion Stance. I really like this card. If I'm playing against a really strong Evil or Death or Chaos deck, maybe I can just seal off one of my opponent's foundations that I don't like. But also, your attack, add this card to your card pool, your opponent adds 1 of their committed foundations to their card pool. You have so many ways of stunning cards in this deck, and just being able to add this to the card pool is just silly strong. Also, this works with Bamboo Blind Slice. Now, Bamboo Blind Slice isn't going to add it to the card pool, but it can be added in card pool. You can, for an attack, you play an attack, you use your Bastion Stance, you play Bamboo, then you can add that attack to your staging area because you still meet the combo requirements because it is weapon and attack, so you have the weapon on there. I really like this card. There's not too many ways of bringing this card down, at least not in this deck. Although like there probably exists some world where you have Bamboo Blind Slice and Bastion Stance in the same deck, and you're able to get the Bastion Stance back to your staging area. That would just be brutal. If you could get that off. But otherwise, that is the deck. The only outliner that I think that the deck really would suffer from is Pure of Heart, and because that will force you to lose cards in your own staging area, or ways of just like your opponent just being able to commit out or seal out attacks that you have, or sealing into or committing Reptile. Other than that, like if they don't really have an answer to what you're doing, then Reptile's just gonna pop off really hard. So I did win a weekly event with Reptile. and it was very obvious like how strong this character was, and then Lilith as a side character, this just makes it all that much more stronger. But anyways, this has been my deck profile. Please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and do check out our store online, which is RedRiotGames.ca, as we have a ton of decks that we're going to be adding on there. So any deck that you see as a deck profile here, we're going to be trying to add that online. And then maybe you have a tournament ready deck. We will be doing our best to try to keep the flow of videos going as well. So if you're into Pokemon, we seem to have a lot of those videos as well. Alright, you guys take care, and we will see you next time.